They never see it happen. Not once. You laugh at the dinner table, you show up to the birthday party with a gift and a genuine smile. You text back, "I'm good, just busy," to the friend who asks how you're doing. And then you're alone. And the second the door closes, something in you just lets go. If you've ever wondered why the tears only show up when there's absolutely nobody around to see them, even people who love you, even people who would understand, this video is going to explain something about yourself you've probably never had the language for. Stay till the end, because the answer isn't what you think it is. Let's start with a scene you probably know better than you'd like to admit. You had a good day, genuinely. You laughed at something funny. You helped a friend with their problem. You were, by every visible measure, fine. Then it's 11 at night. You're lying in bed, phone in hand, and you type, "I'm good, how are you?" to someone who just asked how your day was. And the second you hit send, something inside your chest quietly cracks open. Not because anything new happened, just because the day is finally fully over, and there's no one left to perform for. And here's the question worth sitting with. Why does it wait? Why does the pain choose that exact moment, alone, in the dark, unwitnessed, to finally arrive? Most people assume the answer is simple. You're hiding your feelings because you're scared of judgment. And that's part of it, but it's not the whole picture. And the real answer is a little more uncomfortable. Let's talk about what psychologists call emotional labor. Most people think of emotional labor as something that happens at work, customer service, smiling through a bad shift. But emotional labor happens in relationships too. And for a specific type of person, it happens constantly, everywhere, without them ever clocking out. If you've spent your life being the one who listens, the one who reassures, the one who notices when someone else is struggling before they even say a word, you've likely learned a very specific lesson. When your own pain becomes visible, it doesn't just exist anymore. It becomes something other people have to manage, react to, fix, sit with. And somewhere along the way, you decided that wasn't a job you were willing to hand anyone. So you don't just hide your pain because you're afraid of being judged. You hide it because you've spent so long being the person who holds space for everyone else that you never built a version of yourself who gets to hand that weight over. There's no role for it, no script. So it waits, quietly, until you're alone, and finally, there's no one left whose feelings you need to manage except your own. This is different from simple secrecy. This is about being fundamentally uncertain what to do with your own pain in front of an audience, because you've never had practice being anything other than the strong, steady presence in the room. Now here's where it gets deeper. Over time, something strange starts to happen to people who live this way. The line between the performance and the person starts to blur. At first, the smile is a choice, a decision made in real time. I won't burden this person, I'll hold it together for now. But the more you practice something, the less it feels like a decision, and the more it becomes identity. Eventually, you're not choosing to seem fine. You simply are the person who seems fine. It's not effort anymore. It's just who you've become in front of others. And this is where the real cost shows up. Because if the public version of you stops feeling like a performance, you start to lose track of which version is actually real. The one who laughs easily and handles everything? Or the one who falls apart the second the door shuts? Some people who live this way describe a strange, quiet fear. Not the fear of being seen crying. The fear that if they let someone witness it, that person might realize the whole steady, capable version they've come to rely on was never entirely true. And somewhere in that fear is a deeper question nobody wants to say out loud. If I'm not the strong one, who am I to you? Pause here for a second. Think about the people in your life who come to you for support. Now think about how many of them have ever, even once, asked if you needed the same thing back. If the answer is barely anyone, that's not because you never needed it. It's because you built yourself into a role so convincing that nobody thought to check. Let's bring this into real life for a moment. Maybe you're the friend who always initiates the check-in texts, but never receives one. Maybe you're the one who posts something light and funny online on the same day you cried in the shower for 20 minutes. Maybe you've learned to joke about your own struggles before anyone else can react to them seriously, because controlling the narrative feels safer than losing control of how people respond to your pain. Maybe you've said, "I'm just tired," so many times that it's become a reflex, a placeholder for something much heavier that you've decided isn't worth unpacking out loud. None of this means you're broken. It means you built an incredibly functional system for surviving a world where your own needs never seem to have a clear place to land. Here's the twist that changes how you might see this pattern. It's not really about privacy. Crying alone isn't primarily about hiding from judgment. It's about being the one place, the one moment, where you're finally not on duty, where nobody needs you to be okay so that they can feel okay too. Alone is the only shift where you're not working. That's a strange kind of relief, and also a strange kind of loneliness, because it means the safest place you have to feel your own pain is a place with no other person in it at all. So what actually shifts this? Not becoming someone who cries in front of everyone. That's not the goal, and it was never the point. The real shift starts with recognizing that your pain isn't a burden that needs a role or a performance to be valid. It doesn't need an audience to be real, and it doesn't need to stay hidden to be manageable. Both can be true. The next shift is smaller, and it's this. Somewhere in your life, there's likely one person who has never asked anything of you that you couldn't give. Someone who has never made you feel like their feelings were your responsibility to fix. If that person exists, they are the safest place to practice being witnessed, not performing. Not the whole world. Just one place where you're allowed to not be on duty. And the last shift is the quiet realization that the version of you that cries alone at night is not the fake one. And the version that laughs at dinner is not the fake one either. You were never split into a real self and a performance. You were just a person who learned, very early, that support only flows in one direction, toward everyone else, and never learned what it feels like to let it flow back. That doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means you're overdue for someone to hold space for you the way you've held it for everyone else, for as long as you can remember. You don't have to earn that by falling apart in public. You don't have to prove your pain is real by performing it for anyone. You just have to let yourself believe, quietly, that it was always allowed to exist, even without a witness.